welcome back to another episode of Chronicles of War. I'm Alex, and today's going to be a different episode than normal. Today will be, instead of a event or battle like I've done previously, today I am doing the Iowa class battleships. Now it kind of goes in with the last episode, kinda, and also it's going to tie into some like a future episode I'm planning on doing eventually. But yeah, I'm doing this because Iowa class. It's my favorite class of battleships. I mean, wonder why, given what state I'm from. But yeah, without further ado, let's do this. Let's do this thing. So the Iowa class battleships. The Iowa class battleships. It's made up of 6 fast battleships that were ordered in 1939 and 1940. So fast battleships. It means the battleships have speed without compromising the armor and weapons capability of the ships. Because typically, when you want a ship that's fast, it does not have heavy armor or weapons. Or if you want a ship to have heavy armor and weapons, it's not really fast. Examples of either way would be like, for like a destroyer, they're fast, light armored, but they don't have much in terms of weaponry. On the opposite side, you'd have something like, say, a dreadnought, which type of battleship, but that was heavy on armor, heavy weapon, but didn't really have much in terms of speed. But anyway, so there's 6 battleships that were ordered by the Navy. Of those 6, 4 were actually completed. Those 4 being the USS Iowa, USS New Jersey, the USS Missouri, and the USS Wisconsin. Now, 2 others were left unfinished. They were started, but then the war ended and no longer needed them at the time because the war is over, so we don't really need battleships. So the Illinois and the Kentucky were left unfinished and then eventually scrapped. What was done of them was scrapped. Now, the Iowa class battleships are also, which I mean makes sense when I know is the Illinois and Kentucky being canceled and later scrapped, is Iowa class were the last battleships to be commissioned by the Navy. So after the Iowa class, there were no more battleships made by the Navy. No. But just because they were no longer made, however, does not mean that World War II, they were just done. No. The Iowa class ships, at least one of them, served in World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, as well as in Desert Storm during the Gulf War. Now, some general info on the Iowa class battleships. So they weighed a total of 48,110 long tons, which one long ton is 2,240 pounds. You do the math there. I'm not gonna, because I'm not a math major and I don't like math, and that'd take too long. But anyway, it's 887 feet long. That's how long they were. They had a max speed of 35.2 knots, which is about 40 and a half miles an hour. Now, that's max speed with not having a lot of like ammo and stuff on board, because I mean, if if you want to go fast, you can't have as much weight. But so it'd be obviously slower if, like, had full ammunition and whatnot. But they had a range of 14,890 nautical miles, which is about 17,140 normal miles. But the range, what that is basically is like, say, um, you're at port. Your port is in, I don't know, like Hawaii. Sure, yeah. Your naval base is in Hawaii. You got Pearl Harbor there. The Iowa class ships could go um, the 17,140 miles out away from port. That is their range, before having to turn back, I think. But at least on that last part. The other part, yeah, that is. Because again, I am not an expert on this stuff, especially not naval combat. I know about that. Okay, not the least. I'd be actually aircraft, but anyway, I'm getting distracted. But yeah, and then for their armor. So the thing with their armor is the armor of both the Iowa, I mean not both, each of the Iowa class ships was different. Some were 11 something inches, others had a couple inches over 12. So we're just going to even it out there to about a foot of armor. I don't know if that's the middle of that. Again, I'm not a math major for a reason. But now that's the wrong mouse. On to the armaments. So the Iowa class battleships had, well, for armaments I mean weaponry. As of current armaments, or able to be fitted with armaments, in case of some current armaments, there were 9 16-inch guns. There's 12. Okay, something got autocorrected when I was writing that. One moment, my notes have been auto. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, for the secondary armaments, they had where is it? 12 5-inch guns. And then there were later added on, because that was the base armaments during like World War II. Later, though, as technology got better and stuff, the Iowa class battleships were then retrofitted, which is essentially modernized and stuff. What they got equipped with then were 32 Tomahawk missile launchers. Those are, for those of you who don't know what a Tomahawk missile is, it's your normal, that's in this context, would be a ship to land type missile, but it's typically used as just your normal missile, though. It's typically used for like ship to land. And then also installed on the ships after the during the retrofitting with modernization stuff is 16 Harpoon missile launchers. Now, Harpoon missiles, those are anti-ship missiles. I might have mentioned them in the last episode. I don't remember if I did, because I know they took place in the last episode. I just don't remember if I mentioned them by name. But, that's what Harpoon missiles are. They're used against ships. And then also installed were 4 20 millimeter phalanxes. Now, the phalanx, what they are is they are automated defense turrets, essentially. They target like they work as anti-air. Work on like smaller craft. Anything that gets too close to the ship. Well, not anything. But if something gets close to the ship that's hostile, the turret will activate and spray them with gunfire. Um, so, another thing about the Iowa class battleships is they are not in service anymore. They got at one point they were taken out of service, then put back into service for a while. But they are officially no longer in service. They are in fact actually they're museum ships now. Um, yeah, but they're museums now, so you can actually go and tour them and stuff. Um, I don't know if this is true for the other three Iowa class battleships, but with the USS Iowa, if you go to visit it and you're from Iowa, you actually get free admission, from what I know of. Of course, I of course have not been there yet. I want to, of course. It's one of my favorite battleships. But yeah, if you're from Iowa, you've got free admission to get a tour of it. I'm pretty sure it's just like a basic tour though, because there's different tiers of tours for it. I don't know if it's the same for the other ships. Like I don't know if like say you're from New Jersey, you can go for free on USS New Jersey. I don't know. I just know that New Jersey is in New Jersey. But yeah. Now this next one, this is not at all entirely. This is for the most part not speculative. This is all speculative information. This next stuff, it's simulated stuff, is what it is really. I guess you'd call it. But when it comes to naval warfare, a I just got. Oh wait, no, I forgot the other part because I got distracted a bit. But anyway, like I said, go back up a bit here. So yeah, the Irish class warships, they're all museum ships now. But theoretically, if needed to, if it's absolutely necessary, they would be able to be recommissioned and join the Navy, if absolutely needed to. But it's probably not because the Navy currently doesn't even actually own them. But like, if absolutely necessary, they could. All right, let's see here. But anyway, back to what I was saying about that simulation thing. This purely speculative information and all that, but something that's brought up a lot when you talk about like warships and stuff is who would win in a fight between the Iowa class battleship, and the IJN Yamato. So, a bit of context here. The IJN Yamato was the pride of the Japanese Navy during World War II. Had the biggest guns to be ever put on a battleship ever. They were 18. They were like 18-inch guns. Biggest that's ever been put on a battleship. So biggest guns on a ship. Clearly, must be most powerful. But the argument really is like because the Iowa class battleship are just some of the best like battleships the U.S. Navy made because they're the last ones that were actually made and then they were retrofitted. Now, of course, the context of this, we're not talking about retrofits. Like, we're ignoring that stuff. This is like World War II. When an Iowa class, for sake of things, let's just say the USS Iowa because it's the flagship, it's the name ship of the class. But say the USS Iowa and the IJN Yamato were to meet up during the War in the Pacific, which could have happened because the Iowa was in the Pacific briefly, but it could have happened. So, what would have happened if that were to have happened? So, a bit of general info on the Yamato that we're mainly paying attention to with this because some of this information is not relevant. Some of the stats for the Yamato aren't important in this battle. So what we're going to focus on is the main guns, the armor, and its speed. because I mean anti-aircraft fire, that's not necessary at all. I mean, this is a battle between two warships. We don't need to worry about that. Secondary guns, it's probably not going to be used as much because again, this is a fight between two battleships. They're probably going to be used. They're going to be at far enough a distance that the secondary guns aren't going to be able to reach, most likely. And in this simulation, they aren't going to be. And then like, I mean, it doesn't have any retrofits because we'll get to that a bit later. But so that's all we really care about. So anyway, the Yamato, it's got three triple 18.1-inch guns. Like I said, the biggest ones around. If go back to the Iowa, it had 9 16-inch guns. So there's that. The Yamato had 16.1-inch armor. Now this is just hull armor is all I'm talking about when I say armor because there's different thicknesses of armor for different parts of the ship. So I'm just talking about just the main hull armor. See, Yamato had 16.1-inch. The Iowa was, like I said, roughly a foot. And then for the Yamato speed, it had top speed of 27 knots, while the Iowa would have a top speed of 35.2. But it's definitely not going to be going that. But we're definitely not going on a low load here because this is a battle. So we're going to assume it's got full ammunition stuff. So it's probably going to be 20 something. Alright, so we get into this battle. From when I looked at this, because I did not do the simulation at all, but what we have here is there's three parts to this based on the guns, the armor, and then like also the fire control or like accuracy. So for the guns, the Yamato has better range and its shells are more powerful compared to the Iowas. So for that the Yamato does have the edge there with like firepower because they've got more range and more powerful shells than the armor. The Yamato again has thicker armor, but that's overall armor. Well, because now I did only just mention the hull armor as well, but the Iowa's armor is thicker at like vital areas. So like, again, you've got the hull, the submerged parts of the ship, like underwater. It's thicker thicker armor there to like predict for me, like torpedoes and stuff, or ramming into something. Over like the gun turrets, things like that, like the bridge, stuff like that. But the key deciding factor here, though, however, is the fact that the Iowa has much better accuracy than the Yamato. Because sure, this is World War II. A lot of the technology, it's not that great compared to now. But in terms of accuracy stuff, the Iowa is way better at it. So because of this, the Iowa would be the winner because it doesn't matter how many times. It doesn't matter if you've got like better guns if you can't hit the enemy. Now, if the Yamato got lucky, then yes, it would most likely win. If it got a lucky shot on for two. But with ignoring that, the Iowa would most likely win because It's roughly faster and it's better. It's got more accuracy. Now, of course, we all know who the real